In the series Helluva Boss, there is a ship that the fans have debated a lot about, which just so happens to be a main factor in the show itself. That ship is none other than STOLAS x BLITZØ, and in this video I'm going to do a breakdown on why BLITZØ and STOLAS work so perfectly, and why it was a good idea for BLITZØ to include it. We all know that BLITZØ and STOLAS had been friends ever since they were little. Even though the cause of the friendship was unusual, it was obvious how well they got along. Behind that point, it can then be assumed how they kept in contact, possibly remaining friends for years, as STOLAS trusted BLITZØ to be his bodyguard in the episode Lululand, literally trusting his life in BLITZØ's hand. Although their relationship began to wither into something more complex from an innocent friendship, whatever choices they made with each other was already built on that pre-built trust from when they were children. To show how much they enjoyed each other's company back then, STOLAS would light up whenever BLITZØ was around, and BLITZØ would respond accordingly, creating games that, although confused STOLAS enjoyed, and the two would spend hours just talking to each other. Although STOLAS likely acted like that to BLITZØ over a crush, the two of them were too little to understand much, and simply enjoyed each other's company, whatever that brought with it. Throughout the show, we have been STOLAS and BLITZØ at numerous low points in life. STOLAS has had issues with his wife, his daughter furious with him for his choices, and having serious pressures put on him as the prince. STOLAS started the series as a broken man, the only one who seemed to want to stay around him being BLITZØ. Although it started as an abnormal situation for BLITZØ and STOLAS still turned to BLITZØ for a desperate form of comfort that he wasn't receiving from his family. Even as a kid, STOLAS expressed to BLITZØ of him feeling like the weight of the world on his shoulders, his dad so neglectful to him that he would rather rent a kid for STOLAS to play with than play with his son himself. This neglect echoed into his adulthood, that desperate need for affection so hard like STOLAS would do anything for BLITZØ to spend a night with him. As for BLITZØ's side, his father was equally as neglectful and abusive to him as a kid, and although he don't wear his feeling in his shoulders like STOLAS, the desire to have STOLAS around was very clear. Having a different coping mechanism than STOLAS for neglect and loneliness, BLITZØ became a very harsh person, while STOLAS warmed up and told BLITZØ how he felt. Due to the different self-preservation methods both BLITZØ and STOLAS had was the reason the two had the fight, but throughout it all, it was very clear they needed each other to feel like they belonged and to be supported during their rough moments of life. This desire to feel wanted and to be supported while going through rough times is the main reason they kept turning back to each other, and it was the fuel of their sparking romance later on. The fight, the biggest moment of their entire relationship. Although it may seem like the awkward relationship finally led into toxicity, it was clearly not the case. The reason the fight broke out in the first place was the different ways of showing weakness and pain between BLITZØ and STOLAS. Putting that aside, the reason this section was added into the video explaining how they work as a couple is because of how they dealt with it. Both of them acted like they had a rug pulled out from underneath them as each other's emotional supports were removed from them. Despite that, along with all the other anger they had for each other, they still got worried when one another was in danger, because, at the end of the day, it was just a stupid argument and it didn't matter in the long run. They apologized, worked through it, and forgave each other, and despite what some of you may think, that paves way for a trusting, healthy relationship, as it will be built in trust and love, not letting the little things ruin their true thoughts for one another. Both like the move lasted and forgave each other, even sacrificing their own lives to save the other, which shows that this relationship will last a very long time. If they could get region that fight, they could get through anything. Throughout the show, we have seen how much BLITZØ and STOLAS could rely on each other. In just the latest 2 episodes alone, both BLITZØ and STOLAS have sacrificed themselves for one another, willing to lose everything in order to make sure the other was safe. STOLAS has been attacked numerous times in the series and BLITZØ was always there to save him. When STOLAS was in the hospital after almost being killed, BLITZØ was there to make sure he was okay and offered to help him with anything he needed. Oppositely, when BLITZØ had humans trying to kill him and his friend STOLAS was there to save him. When BLITZØ was about to be excused halfway across the city, STOLAS was there to protect him and sacrificed his own life to save BLITZØ's. The two have always been there for each other when it's needed, even offering to give BLITZØ free access to the human world after STOLAS felt that it would be better for BLITZØ with STOLAS out of his mandatory life, and BLITZØ responded in anger, hurt that STOLAS even thought of something like that. That just related back to the previous points of each other dealing with emotions differently yet still caring about each other nonetheless. When STOLAS and BLITZØ are with each other, especially after all their fights, it's clear that they feel like they belong with each other. Rather than going and joining the party in the newest episode, BLITZØ jumped on the railing to dance with STOLAS. They understand each other's problems and are there to support each other. As two misfits, they relate to each other and are happy to be around one another. They feel like they belong when they are with each other, and that is a major part of having a loving relationship. Well, that's the end of this video. If you enjoyed it, please consider subscribing as this took a long time to make. Thank you for watching.